Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with Lieutenant Zink from Clark County School District Police. Lieutenant Zink, thank you so much for being here on Trooper Talk.
Thanks for having me, Neil.
So, people don't realize that the Clark County School District Police just doesn't do schools. It just doesn't work a few hours a day, you know, all these things. Talk to us about what the Clark County School District Police does and give us a rundown on that.
Yeah, so like you said, it was funny. I had a phone conversation with somebody this morning, and I called to ask them a law thing, and their quote, they were joking, but they said, "Aren't you off for the summer?" And then my answer was like, "I wish." We're just as busy in the summertime as we are. We don't have as many kids, but we're still busy. We're still doing things, developing programs, participating in meetings throughout the summer to plan for the next school year. And importantly, we still have kids in almost all of our schools. I think the number is probably around 47,000 students are on campus right now doing the extended school year and summer school. So that's still a lot of cars, extra cars out on the roadways transporting kids to and from school. And then same thing with our school buses are still out and about right now too because of the amount of kids in school.
And so, you also patrol the roads.
You know, we're certified police officers in the state of Nevada. We have jurisdictions on the highways and the roadways, which a lot of people don't know, to stop people driving at high rates of speed, to stop unsafe drivers, to stop impaired drivers. And then our motorcycle team is part of Joining Forces, which is activity that takes place 2-3 times a month, where all the different agencies in the valley get together and they go out and they target specific hot spots of the valley, and then they look for specific target things like impairment, speed's one of the big ones, distracted drivers, things like that, and then they go out and they saturate an area and then do enforcement on those.
And so one of the things that we were talking about was crosswalks.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about, you know, crosswalks. You were saying, you know, which I was never thinking about, you know, one of the things on Trooper Talk is, you know, we want to try to save one life.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we were talking about before we went on camera was that people look down and look at their tablets or their phones or whatever when they're walking across instead. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we call that cell phone zombies, crosswalk zombies. People just don't pay attention. We've all been taught that as long as you're in a crosswalk, you have the right of way. You may know you have the right of way, but you got to make sure that that driver coming at you knows that you're in that crosswalk. So that's why we ask people not to cut the corner in the crosswalk. If you're going to use the crosswalk, go right up to the crosswalk. Always do the old saying that we were taught as kids: look left, look right, look left again, to make sure that the roadway is clear. And we know that it's uncomfortable. What we always teach our kids too is like try to make eye contact with the driver of that vehicle, because if they're looking down and they don't see you, and then they look up and they hit the gas, you know, you may see them, but they may not see you. So, like I said, look left, look right, try to make eye contact, and then take your time. You know, make sure that car is going to stop before you step out into the crosswalk.
And we've been out with Sergeant Campbell when he's had the motorcycle officers there and all that type of stuff. He's also part of the Unity.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to us about that, because you're involved in many different things.
Yeah, so what you're talking about last summer, Sergeant Campbell and I we participated in the Police Unity Tour, which is a bike tour which goes from New Jersey to Washington, D.C. It starts in New Jersey, and then the teams come from all over the country. Everyone does different rides, but then we all met up at RFK Stadium outside of D.C., and then we all rode our bikes into the National Police Memorial in Washington, D.C., for the day before the big celebration for Police Week.
Yeah, it's tremendous. You know, the thing is that you could be doing a lot less things, but, you know, let's face it, you really care.
Yeah, we do. We, especially at our department, I mean, I think every Valley department cares about the citizens in our great community, but us, we're solely focused on the kids, and our job is to not only to keep them safe when they're at school, but to make sure that they can get to and from school. And, you know, that's why we always talk about is traffic is paramount, because, you know, used to be back in the day that you would go to the school that was right across the street or down the block from your school. But with the amount of magnet schools that we have here in the Valley, we have kids that travel great distances, one end of the Valley to the other, to get a top-notch education. And their parents are either driving them or they're in their buses. So it's our responsibility as a community to make sure that those kids can get to school safely. And one of the big problems that we always see, and I guess everybody here can see it on the highways now, is speed on our highways. It's just unbelievable what risks people are taking, not only with their own lives, but the lives of others. Because if you get into a car crash and you're doing 115 miles per hour, the chances of you just driving off in the desert and getting hurt or killed with just you, very slim. But the chances of you hitting 4, 5, 6 cars before you come to a stop is pretty substantial. So I know Campbell and his group were out on adjoining forces last week, and Henderson Police Department stopped a Tesla that was doing about 117 miles per hour on the highway. That's ridiculous. If you want to go out and drive that fast, go to Speed Vegas, go out to the Speedway.
Yeah.
You can pay a little bit of money and drive a high-performance car out there in a safe environment.
Yes.
Where the chances of you crashing very slim. The likelihood of you getting into a fatality very minimum. But it's like, think about other people, and that's one of the key things that we like to stress is like, don't think about yourself so much, but think about everyone else.
The speed is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, I was driving the other day, and these cars are just blowing past. I mean, and so that's one of the things that's very important. We want to stop the speed. We want to stop the impairment.
Absolutely. What you have to realize is that when you're driving down the highway and that speed limit sign says 65, that's the absolute speed limit. There is no wiggle room. There is no 5 to 10 miles per hour, because a lot of times people think, well, I can go 5 to 10 miles per hour and I'm not going to get pulled over. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But I can guarantee you the faster you go, the harder it is to slow down, the harder it is to stop. Your reaction time is a lot worse. So it's just, drive within your limits. And like I said, think about everyone else that's out there, because it's just not you.
Yeah. And these cars aren't made to do that.
No, these are not
like the tires, I mean, they're rated for a certain thing. I mean, they're not made to,
Yeah, like your Kia Sophia is not a high-performance vehicle. Sure, it can go 115 miles per hour.
Right.
But it's not meant, like you said, the tires are small. They're not meant to handle that type of traveling.
Yeah, I always see them. They buzz around on the turn, and, the car's like this, and it's like, it's not meant to do that.
No, they're not. And then just because you're great at Grand Theft Auto or some video game in your den or at your computer doesn't mean that you can replicate that type of driving out in the real world.
Absolutely.
It's not safe for you. It's not safe for everyone else.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, I got some pictures here for us. Let's see what we got here.
Oh, look at that guy. Ugh.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, so that's when we were
100
at
Deadliest Days.
Yep. So the 100 Deadliest Days. I look angry there, but I'm not. Yeah. It was a great event. 100 Deadliest Days go from Labor Day to Memorial Day, and that's typically 100 days of summer, and that's where we see the largest increase in traffic fatalities. Just because it's summertime, there's more teen drivers out on the roadway that don't have a whole lot as much experience as a seasoned driver. It's also, we know that teens will take more risky behavior when they're out driving. Speed is the big thing. Impairment, sometimes, leaving a summer party, and then distracted driving. And when we talk about distracted driving, that's just not, people always think, well, they're, on a cell phone, but it's also being in control of the people that are in the car with you. Or what are your friends doing in the back seat? The passenger, is everybody buckled up? Things like that. Looking back to yell at somebody or to laugh at somebody, and then you look up and there's, somebody in a crosswalk or a bicyclist or another car. So it's, that distracted driving can encompass all that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're driving down the road, you're a police officer. Mm-hmm. You can pull somebody over.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not like, Clark County School District Police. Oh no, they're not going to pull me over.
No, because we're looking at it from an aspect of public safety, and people say, well, you're just pulling me over, write me a ticket because you have a quota. It doesn't exist. And if I write you a ticket for speeding or for distracted driving, my department gets $0 from that ticket. That money goes directly to the court system. It doesn't go to us at all. So we always have that battle with, not battle, but people always ask that.
Of course,
like, you're doing this to make money, generate revenue. It's like, we don't get money from this. All of our money comes from the state because we're part of the school district.
And with what you do being a lieutenant, you've climbed the ranks here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so you have that true passion to make sure that these people are here for the next school year.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because we don't want to see anybody not here
Nope.
that was in 11th grade that isn't going to go to 12th.
Absolutely. And we had over 40 students that were struck going to or from school last year. No fatalities, thank God. But, again, those are kids that miss school because their parents had to take them to the hospital. Those are parents that miss work because their kids were hurt or injured. And a lot of those, or some of those, were caused by the kids themselves. And so that's why we work with the groups within the school district to educate the kids at that age too about being good pedestrians. You know, a lot of times, like we were talking about earlier, we always blame everything on the drivers of the cars. It's their fault, they weren't paying attention or whatever. But it takes a team effort. You got to be a good pedestrian. You need to use that crosswalk. You need to ride your bicycle in the bike lane if there's one provided. If not, it is okay to ride your bike on the sidewalk as long as you give right of way to pedestrians walking. You can ride your bike on the sidewalk if it's not safe for you to be in the roadway. But like I said, you got to be a good pedestrian. You got to share that space.
And so, you know, one of the things we always talk about on Trooper Talk, which is the motorcycles, same idea.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so, you know, we have to share the roadway when we're on the roadway,
Right.
a pedestrian street or a highway. We have to be paying attention
Right.
to what our surroundings are.
Right, you know, and I think we've all can attest to being on the highway, and then all of a sudden you just hear something and you look, and then there's a motorcycle doing 200 miles per hour going in front of you. Again, the roadways here aren't meant for that. Those bikes may be meant to do that, but again, you have to think about the person driving the car, because if you're going 200 miles in a motorcycle and somebody's making a legal lane change and they don't hear you or see you coming, and then you crash into the back of them, you know, your chances of dying from a fatality, you know, from being in a motorcycle accident like that are a lot more than if you were in a car, because you're not protected. And then again, speed, how far is the body going to be thrown in other conditions? So again, with the motorcycles, it's like just because they can go that fast doesn't mean that you should go that fast on our roadways.
Yeah, and we had I think about a month ago in Henderson,
Yep.
with the person with the motorcycle that was going too fast and ran into the Jeep.
Yep, ran right into the back
ran
of the Jeep.
into the back because he
Yeah.
was just going too fast.
Yeah, some of our officers were the first on scene. They were just going to work and rolled
just-
right up on it. And it's horrifying because it's just not you that you're putting through this. You're putting the person that you hit through it, all the first responders, all the medical people, everyone else that comes in
Yeah.
to try to render you aid. You're putting them in harm's way because commuters going to work, not paying attention, things like that. So it's just a matter of, just really slow down.
Slow down.
And that's probably one of the most leading causes of fatalities on our roadways is just speed and then impairment.
Yeah.
Yep.
We got to slow them down.
Yep. Got to slow them down.
Unfortunately, on Monday we had the Detective Terry, who was tragically lost his life. And so, when it comes to the Trooper Talk, it's a matter of giving a moment of silence. So we'll just give a moment of silence. And so we have self-reflection. And so one of the things that we do on the Trooper Talk is try to get to the core of anybody who comes here of what makes you emotional and things of that nature. So let's talk for a moment about, you were here yesterday.
Yep, I was at the funeral.
So what do you feel when you're alone, when you're driving there and you have self-reflection?
Well, I've been a member of my department's honor guard almost as long as I've been on the department, for 19 years. And so, this was the 12th funeral that I've participated here in Clark County. And I didn't know Detective Terry going there, read about him, but I felt like I had a better sense of who he was after the funeral because of the wonderful words that his coworkers and his family and said about him at the funeral. So it's always very sad, and especially with his death was just so tragic. It was just a tragic accident that that happened, and when it was just shocking to hear about it the day that it happened. But then again, to be able to participate in the funeral, to represent my department, and to be there to stand up for this man it's always a great honor.
Yeah, and so does it give you any self-reflection about yourself, about immortality or anything of that nature?
I mean, absolutely. It always reinforces that life is precious and it can be over in a moment and you just don't know it.
Yeah.
We're never promised tomorrow, right? We're given the time we have right now. Tomorrow's a wish, basically, So, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think we all sit there and think about our own mortality, what we've done in our life, what we hope to do, our dreams for the future, and, can just disappear and you'd never even know it. So, yeah.
And so being on being on the honor guard, Why do you do that?
I was asked, it wasn't even anything that I'd even considered, but I was asked when I first came on the department if I'd be interested in doing it. And, I thought about it for about 2 minutes and said, absolutely. And it's just a way to show your support for your own community and to stand up for my own community, to be there, to participate. And then just to show the family that, it's like your husband may have just been a member of Metro. He's also part of the larger law enforcement community that we have. And to show the family that, hey, the Clark County School District Police Department cared about your husband just as much as everyone else. So it's a great honor.
Yeah. We know these guys hang out on the bridges,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And so when you're doing whatever you're doing, there is no slowing down because that guy's got you.
Oh, you're pinged.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So most people think that when they roll up, like I was driving yesterday morning and there was a highway patrol guy. And most people don't realize that he's sitting on the side of the road and he's got the rear radar. So by the time you see him and slow
too
down,
late.
he's already got you.
It's too late. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so the same idea when it comes to this.
Oh,
Talk
yeah.
to us about this.
Yeah, so I think Sergeant Campbell's using a LADAR, which is a laser, so it's shooting a beam down there and it's hitting whatever car he hits it. So that one's doing 88 miles per hour.
682.3 feet.
Yeah.
Boom.
And then typically what happens is that the other person, I think he may be holding the radar gun also, but then they'll call it out. It's like, gray Hyundai Elantra, Nevada plates, and then they've got motorcycles staged down on the other side of the exit that'll then go and pull them over. And then this, of course, is recorded and will be used in court if the person chooses to try to fight the ticket.
And he's got him.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And he's got him down the road.
Yep.
So there's no point in messing around.
No, so and when we say joining forces, I mean, they usually go out with like 30 to 40 different motorcycle cops from every agency in the valley. So there's enough cops to pull, there's enough cops to pull over as many cars as they can. And I mean, it's typical that they'll go out for 3-4 hours and then end up with, 100, 200 tickets. Just really depends on, like they always say, it's like shooting fish in a barrel because people, especially coming this direction, because you're coming from Henderson, it's a nice downgrade. So people just
People want to put their foot on the
people
gas.
want to put their foot on the gas, and that's the other thing too. It's just like you think with as expensive as gas is per gallon now, you think people will be driving a little bit slower,
Right.
but it's like people don't care.
They don't care.
Just burning money.
They think that, and let's, I don't know the actual statistic, but the difference between like 65 and 75 getting to the places, it's like 3 minutes or so. You know what I mean? It's like it's not
right.
it's not a very long distance.
No, and I mean that's why back in the 70s the speed limit was dropped to 55 miles per hour, because it shows that once you start going above 55 miles per hour, that's when the fuel consumption really goes up. So the faster you go, the more gas you burn. And so 55 was kind of they're like, well, you can still get where you need to go. It's going to take you an extra day to get cross country, but you're not going to burn as much gas.
Right.
You're going to conserve, but we like to drive fast, so.
And let's face it, 65 is still very fast.
Oh, it is,
You
especially
know what I
if you're
mean?
going.
Like just cruising along, just exit to exit, you're there in a couple minutes.
Well, I mean, and the traffic here it's never free flowing. You're always going to have to stop, speed up, slow down, speed up, slow down. So that time that you think you're saving by doing 65, 70 miles per hour, you're just going to throw away when you have to stop.
Yeah,
the curve, because
100%.
going this direction, as soon as you hit that curve right before Flamingo, traffic slows down.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you hit the eastern curve, traffic slows. So all we're doing is we're speeding to get to a slowdown, speeding to get to a slowdown. So
Right.
it's
So
kinda-
just drive nice and consistent.
yeah,
and
just
be
nice and
done.
consistent. Yeah,
Right.
save your money.
Save your money.
One, you're paying for a big tank of gas, and then you're going to be paying a big fine. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that fine's not cheap.
no, it's not.
And then the lawyer and the going to court and the taking off work and the,
Yeah,
you know
or-
what I'm saying?
Or points added onto your driver's license.
added
You know,
onto your
reckless
driver's license.
reckless driving can get you 6 points, which is halfway to losing your ticket, your driver's license. So
6 points.
yeah, 6 points.
Yeah, I mean, you do that twice and that's it, right?
That's it, right? And then you're riding the cat bus, and it's not going that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joining forces.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And again, the joining forces,
Yeah.
people complain about our officers spending our department's money, school district money. This is all grant money from Office of Traffic Safety from the state of Nevada. Sergeant Campbell writes 3-4 different grants to pay for his team to be out there. And that's what's being all paid for is by the state.
So it's not costing anybody any extra money. There's no quota.
Nope.
You're not writing a ticket because you have nothing better to do.
Nope.
And let's face it, when they're standing out there for hours, they're standing out there in hours with the whole uniform on in the sun.
Oh yeah, in the hot sun, yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, believe me, like we were talking about, they'd love to be in the air conditioning.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they would love to be, but they're not. They're out there on the motorcycles
And so the joining forces is there to make sure to help protect these roadways, because if we didn't have a problem,
right, they wouldn't need to be there.
we wouldn't need to be there.
And the other cool thing about the joining forces is that you see all the different badges that are represented here, right? So what they'll do is you see the school district badge and people say, well, why are they out on the highway doing this? Well, then by us being out there participating, then it brings all of these departments into our jurisdiction once or twice a month to where they're targeting different hotspots, different schools throughout the valley. So you may be at a school up in the northwest part of town and get pulled over by a Henderson cop. And it's because he's there because he's part of joining forces. So the joining forces, so we work together, they work together, and then they spread it around throughout the valley. So they'll do the highways, they'll do roadways. When we do these crosswalk, these themed crosswalk events to bring attention to people not stopping in crosswalks and making it safe for our pedestrians, exact same thing. I think one of the last ones we did was over by the Water District, Charleston and Valley View.
Yeah.
We had people from every one of these agencies out there helping us pull over cars for just, for not stopping when our person tried to cross the street.
They did that's where they did the Leprechaun.
Yeah, that was Leprechaun on the
and
crosswalk.
so we drove by, and that's where they took the picture and all.
Yep.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
And people were blowing. He was in the crosswalk, and people were like,
that was terrible.
And I remember he goes, Gray Hyundai or whatever it was. It was like, the guy just blew past us.
Yeah, we almost called that event because it was almost to the point where it wasn't safe for our decoy to step out. We didn't feel comfortable having Keith step out in the roadway because people were just not paying attention. I mean,
it was really scary. Like, so I stood next to him, you know what I mean? And it was very, very scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because as he walked out, like these cars were not paying attention.
No, they weren't. And it's a marked crosswalk, and it's a lot of the same people that drive through there every day. They know that there's a crosswalk there, but for some reason, as soon as that light turns green, foot hits the gas pedal, and you got to go. And it's just like, you're saving a minute. And now you got a $150 ticket.
Right. And it's completely distracted driving.
Yeah. Oh,
100%.
yeah. Yeah. And again, on those, the crosswalk ones are really scary because we do those on city streets.
Right.
And they're not out on the highway because there's no crosswalks out there. And the amount of people that get pulled over for talking on the cell phone, driving, or putting on makeup or trimming their mustache, things like that. We see all that when we're out there. And you're just like, I know you're trying to get to work, but it's like, take an extra 5 minutes in the morning, and that's again what we stress with our parents driving their kids to school. It's like take an extra 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and to try to get there because, like I said, we just really got to work together as a community to just keep everybody safe.
That's the important thing. This is a community effort.
We all live in the same valley. We all live in the same valley, and you could be in an accident, you could cause an accident, just like any of us could. So it's just take your time, slow down, pay attention.
Yeah, that's what's so important.
It's really important.
On this one here, there's different types of ways that these guys do it. They have the off of the car with the radar, you know what I mean? And so the important thing is that these are the motorcycles that they radioed.
Yep.
So let's talk to us about what we see here.
So I believe this is the Tesla that was stopped doing 100. I think it was doing 117 on the 95, and so what he's doing is in the back of his bike box he's actually got the looks like a computer. A lot of them will have like the little Brazos, which is a little keypad, which then is all Bluetooth, and then can print the ticket right then and there. But I think that person probably got arrested for as fast as they were going. It's to that point now where we're not writing tickets or definitely not giving out warnings, but it does come to a point where they stop. They'll create like a threshold, and they're like, anybody going over this speed is going to jail. They're not getting a ticket today.
So we had the Lieutenant White on. and that's what he said. He
Yeah.
said because they do the overnight NHP, and he goes,
Yeah.
look, he goes, anybody over 100 miles an hour, we don't care.
Yeah.
Like that's it. You're just going to jail.
Yeah, and then
It's just too much already.
also with paying the court fines and all that, you're also going to have your car towed. You're going to have to pay to have it taken out of a tow yard, and that's not cheap.
Yeah.
The longer it's there, the more the fees are to get it out. So yeah, so that one was that one. That was a interesting one. And then this one over here is just one of Sergeant Campbell's way to educate. He's struck a I don't want to say a nerve, but a chord with the local population here, and actually national population, with his Facebook posts, to where he'll draw like a little silly face on the cars and stuff like that to draw attention to it, catches people's eyes, and they
Yeah.
say, oh, what's this post? And they read about, oh, they're out doing traffic. Oh, I didn't know that you couldn't do this, or this. So whenever he does a post like this, he'll put a little bit of, he'll put an educational component to it too, to explain what it is they're doing, what the laws are, and then what can happen to you if you violate those laws.
Because let's face it, the thing is that they don't want to be doing this.
No.
He wants to be driving his motorcycle down the road, nobody
Oh, yeah.
bother him, and
Yeah.
just, you know what I mean? And,
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
if he
this
could-
is not what they want to be doing.
If he could be in a school zone right now, patrolling a school zone, he would be there, absolutely. But unfortunately, like I said, it takes that group effort to keep everybody safe. So that's why they participate in the joining forces.
And I love that everybody does it.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Oh
what
yeah,
I'm
it's
saying?
great.
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I think the community sees the value of having officers from every single jurisdiction come together, because again, it shows that the law enforcement community works together.
Yeah, 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I do like the fact that in a place you wouldn't necessarily see a Henderson police officer or Las Vegas Metropolitan. You do.
Yeah.
So that way you're always on guard.
Yep, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So what do we have here?
So this is them lined up, probably at a briefing or getting ready to roll out, and then these are just some of the cars that they ping for speeding down the highway. And that looks like that's out in Henderson somewhere.
And so they just sit there with the LiDAR, and then they just call out, and that's
Yep.
it.
Yeah, and they just call it out, and then the bikes will go out and pull the drivers over.
That's great.
Yep. Oh, we're hiring dispatchers.
All right.
Thanks for
so
putting that up
the
there.
next thing that we want to talk about.
Mhm.
Okay. Every agency needs people to come.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want you to do is I want you to talk to me about Clark County School District
Mhm.
Police. Why somebody wants to be an officer, why somebody wants to come and hang out, why somebody wants to do all that stuff, and talk to us about the recruiting.
Okay. So our department is a great place to work if you like working with juveniles and you want to make a difference in the life of the juveniles, the future generations coming out. Our primary job is to be in and around the schools to keep the kids safe, to keep bad things from happening, and to deal with things, crimes that happen on our properties. So that's what we're there for. But then again, we also participate in different task force and groups throughout the valley to help keep the community safe and to enhance our abilities to keep our staff and our students safe. Our department, we've got 5 recruits going through police academy right now. So we'll hire you without any experience, and then we'll put you through a police academy. We also hire what are called lateral officers. They're officers that come from out of state or from within the state, and then they can join our department either if they're post certified or they have a certificate from a state that we have reciprocity with. And then you just do some basic training here, and then you go through field training here, and you become a sworn police officer on our department. So we also get a lot of people that come, they may work for another agency and it's just not the right fit, and they'll come over to our department. We get people that, their spouse or family member may move to Las Vegas and they're a cop somewhere else, and they'll come out here and then they'll join our department. And then we do have a lot of officers who will actually do 20 years at another agency, decide that they're not quite ready to retire yet, and then they'll also join our department and then have a second career.
So it's not necessarily an age thing as well either.
Oh,
it's
no,
about,
not at
it's
all.
about, you know what I mean? Like
It's all
being
about the
able to-
right fit, the person finding the right fit for themselves and the right fit for our department.
And what about the dispatchers now? Because that you have to, not that you don't have to be a special person for a police officer, but this as well, right? Because
That's just as stressful as what we do,
Yeah.
because they're dealing with it in real time. So sometimes they're given information before we know it, and then they have to safely give it out to us. And then again, I may be out in the field working on one call at a time, but a dispatcher may have 5 or 6 calls because people are constantly calling in to report stuff, ask for stuff. You could have 10 elementary schools calling saying they got, irate parents, and they're trying to triage it and figure out which one do I need to get an officer to first. How much information do I need to get in the computer so I can run this person and give the officer out in the field the information they need. And then when you got like the motorcycle squad out there doing enforcement, and they've got, there's 5 of them. If all 5 of them pull a car over, it's a different car. They're trying to request information on each one of those cars. It all goes to dispatch. So either 1, 2, 3, or 4 dispatchers are trying to get all that information and get it run, and then get the officers the information they need as quickly as possible. So it is a very stressful job as well, because they're like, they're, I don't say they're our backbone, but they're our backup because, like I said, they're taking those calls and pushing that information out to us.
100%. And sometimes in the schools, we didn't really talk about it, but sometimes bad things happen there. Sometimes we read, about people bring guns, and sometimes there's fights, and sometimes last year there were parents getting involved, and things that are maybe out of the ordinary.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you have to be available, and they have to be available to deal with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what we're here for. So there's never a dull moment. It's like every day is different than the day before. So it is a great career. I've enjoyed probably 90% of the time I've been here for 19 years. There's been some very stressful times. There've been some fantastic times. I've made lifelong friends. I've got to do stuff I never thought I would get to do in my life. So, all in all, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, and sometimes we just have to deal with things.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Well, Lieutenant Zink, you did it.
Yeah,
what do you think,
got through another one. No, it's great. Love coming here and talking to you, Neil.
I want you to know that it's very important of what you do, and that everyone that's underneath you, we want to always support and all that type of stuff. And so I think that we learned things today that we didn't learn before.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people in the community, and it's nobody's fault, because you have people that move here from all over the country, all over the world, and they have no idea that, I still talk to people daily that have no idea that the school district has its own police department. We're the 7th largest police agency in the state. And during the normal school year, with the amount of students that we have on our campuses, we're one of the top 20 largest cities by population. You could look at it that way, because, we'll have 320,000 students and about 50,000 support staff on our properties, and then, Monday through Friday, So it's a lot of people that we're responsible for. We rely on our partners in the community, Metro, Northtown, Henderson, NHP, Boulder City, Mesquite. We rely on everybody, because our goal, all of our goals, is to keep these kids safe, keep our staff safe, and just get these kids through this, get them through through school so they can become productive citizens and hopefully police officers one day.
100%.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We greatly appreciate it.
Thanks,
now
Neil.
we're going to wave towards this camera. We're going to tell everybody we'll see you soon.
See you soon.
See you soon.